So hello, everyone. This is an audio test. Let's sound off. Tree, how's your audio?
I think I sound great. How do you think I sound?
I don't know yet. I have to review the footage. Jorn, how do you sound?
I hope I sound okay.
Best anyone can hope for. Stim Citizen, how do you sound?
Not as good as Joran or Tree. I mean, clearly not.
Oh no, you could buttery smooth, buttery smooth. I
Butter.
can't believe it's not butter. And Joe Rune, we've never chatted, but or met, but pleased to meet you. Have watched
Nice to meet you as well.
I've watched the show many times. I
Hey, Nazareth?
or
Apparently, there's no audio coming through, at least on the recording.
Oh, Okay.
So we're gonna try another audio test. Tree, how do you sound?
I think I sang great.
Okay,
How
the
do you think I
bars
sound?
bars are moving. Jordan, how do you sound?
Testing sound.
Okay, all
Testing
Twitch
sound.
chat says they are getting audio. Stim, how do you sound?
Syphilis.
Isn't that a
Syphilis.
disease? All right, we'll be starting soon here. Let me just get this audio fixed.
Yeah, I
3. Hello, everyone. We actually made it, and it's on the wrong screen for them. It's fine. Hello. And welcome back to the Star Citizen Content Creators Roundtable, where we talk about, well, Star Citizen, if it wasn't already obvious. Today, I have an esteemed panel of guests to my immediate whatever direction this is for you. I have Tree0311, Fun Pathfinders Podcast, which I also attend sometimes. We also have below me, Jorn. And then to his other side is also Stim Citizen. So we're going to go around, let them introduce themselves. So starting with the opposite direction of what I just did. Stim, who are you and what do you do in Star Citizen?
I am Stim Citizen. I am one of the hosts and producers of the Yacht Club. Along with me is Joran, another awesome host of the Yacht Club.
Which was not planned. They're just the only two people that agreed to be on here.
we go everywhere together. Like he's the yin to my yang, you know.
My best bud. Love you.
Yeah, man. Love you too, pal. It's awesome. You know, I've just started playing a little bit of Star Citizen, and the person that I trust the most has taken me into the verse, Joran, and showed me a little bit and shared some alpha UEC and kind of got me kind of up and going, which is really good because that 30K certainly didn't help, but we're kicking some butt and having fun. So where to find us? We're on the Yacht Club, and Joran, you can talk for yourself afterwards, but it is 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday nights. Every week, we are the weekly Bar Citizen. We have a great time just hanging out, talking about spaceships and relaxing. And we did a great big CitizenCon thing. But yeah, it's just kind of every week, hang out and have a good time. Thanks, Nazarus.
Yeah, thank you
That
for
would be on
agreeing to
Twitch
do
at Bar
this.
Citizen, or that would be on Twitch at Yacht Club BC for Bar Citizen.
Awesome.
Actually, post your post the address.
Thank you, Joran.
Yes.
I didn't want to say everything. I left some for you.
Yes, and then Joran, who are you and what do you do in Star Citizen?
Well, yes, I am also one of the founding hosts of the Yacht Club, and I just love talking Star Citizen 24/7. I am also one of the founders of Bar Citizen, not the original, back in 2013, but the Bar Citizen website and taking that worldwide and setting up lots and lots of regional Bar Citizen organizers to bring nerds together all over the world. Founded the 890 Jump Club back in 2016 also, so we've got almost 1,000 890 Jump owners. So just yeah, all over the community, and just love bringing nerds together around all kinds of interests. So yep,
Nice. Yeah,
Star
the
Citizen is my life.
local next Bar Citizen here in North Carolina just posted their one on the 18th. So if you're in North Carolina, there's a thing on the 18th. Go to the Bar Citizen website, figure out where.
Awesome.
And then-
And Boise just posted a Bar Citizen as well.
Nice. So many of them going off
Very
at once.
excited.
And then lastly but not leastly, Tree0311, who are you and what do you do in Star Citizen?
I'm Tree0311 or Tree0311 for all my Marine friends out there. I do 2 podcasts. Nazarus and I partner together on the Pathfinders podcast, where we do in-depth following of the development for Star Citizen Squadron 42, everything from monthly reports to the roadmap updates, deep dives in the progress tracker, especially via Shiny Tracker. And then we also do deep dives into individual pieces of technology, gameplay features, and such. Oh, and here comes the toddler again. And I do the occasional short form video when I have the time. Obviously, I'm a space dad, so I such is life. But yeah, I just love Star Citizen. Love all things space and sci-fi, but I also occasionally stream, co-op games, different sci-fi games. So I try to do a little bit more variety. But yeah, I got to go to CitizenCon live. Got to meet Stim Citizen while I was there. It was just absolutely incredible time. So looking forward to talking about it.
Oh, that's not the right thing I'm trying to move. It's fine. Just going to screw up everything.
And everything is Trio311 on YouTube, on Twitch, and then on Twitter, because we don't call it X in this house. It's
Nobody does. I haven't seen a
Tree0311
single person who does.
Yeah, -SC or _SC. I think it's -SC. Yeah.
There you go. There's our panels. I had a sentence I was going to put on that I totally forgot about. Anyway, welcome everyone. So now all of you, there we go. There's the sentence. All of you did get a chance to go, right? Or are the Yacht Club people here? Did you guys watch it on the stream?
Yeah, I was there, had a great time, got a chance to meet Tree, which is really awesome. And I'm super looking forward to not only this show that we're doing now, but also Tree and I are both on the captain's table for the 24-hour live stream on November 4th, I think it is. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Whatever next weekend is, yeah.
Yep, next Saturday. Yeah. Yeah, and we'll be with Red Jay, who helped Nazareth with the 48-hour CitizenCon live stream. So
Yep.
it's
And
all
I'll
coming
be doing
together.
the second to last slot, the 1 to 4 in the morning here. That'll be fun. I think like there's so many people. Yeah, 24-hour thing will be nice. I like how he does it. Makes it easy when you have like rotating people. Jordan, were you able to make it out to LA for CitizenCon? You are muted.
Unfortunately, I was gonna go, and then my wife was just too worried about her health to be left alone, so I ended up canceling fairly late notice, and was very disappointed about that. But I absorbed all of it, 24/7 on the live streams and the discords, all over the community, and connecting with the Bar Citizen organizers out there, and just living vicariously, and loved every minute of it. It was absolutely amazing.
Great. So it's very balanced. We got 2 people who watched the live stream hitting my mic, and 2 people who were able to go. So I think that's quite balanced. So that's cool that we were able to do that. None of this is planned. Just everyone who's watching, this is not planned. If you want to be on this show, let me know in Discord, and we can do something, because finding people with less than 24 hours to go is nerve-wracking. So, yes. Now I failed this week, but I normally try to get new players on at least somewhere on here. So how long has everyone been playing Star Citizen? We'll see who the oldest one is. I've been since December 2014. Tree, how long have you been playing Star Citizen?
June or July, I forget which one, of 2013. I was strapped for cash when the original Kickstarter came out, but I managed to get the veteran backer, not original backer.
And Jord, if you're
We
there,
lost Jordan.
Someone says that mine and Stim Citizen's audio are a little low. I could pull my mic a little bit closer to me too. That'll actually probably help.
And I can do some adjustment on this end.
Okay. Then Stim Citizen, how long have you been playing Star Citizen?
Good question. If I'm overblown, guys, just let me know. I'll turn it down. I've been playing. Well, it's a very good question, actually. So I've been a backer since 2014, pretty early 2014. I was following it for a long time, but not very closely. So I did see the Kickstarter. Loved Wing Commander. Like absolutely loved it. Privateer, all that.
Yes.
And so I was going to jump in, but then I got distracted. Something happened. Life, came back in 2014 and said, okay, I got to get into this. Jumped in. Again, life got busy, building a career, moving along. 2016 happened and the Starfarer was about to launch. And somehow I took another look back at it and I saw it and went, oh man, this is amazing. This is I'm jumping in. So I jumped in both feet before I knew it. Wing Commander, #regrets. But just kind of pushed ahead, and here we are having a great time. As far as how long I've played the game, I don't play it very much. So let's say my playing Star Citizen Rebirth Day was yesterday with you, Jordan, and then today. So
Yesterday, he's played since yesterday.
Accurate.
You've been in
Everything's breaking. That's fine.
Yeah, I've been in occasionally. I'm that kind of person that checks every patch, just to see what's going on. Some of the keybinds are still the same when I check in, and some of them aren't, which means that every time I do jump in, I can sort of get to a place enough that when I get there, I can crater effectively, and then and then log out for a while if it doesn't 30K before I get there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I play often enough to stay familiar, but it's I'm a space dad. I have a job and a half, and I'm married and everything. So like playtime's limited, but it's fun to just be a part of the community and engage with people. Like that's more than half the fun for me at this point.
Oh, exactly. Absolutely, and that's what CitizenCon was all about, right? It's just engaging, seeing people in person, seeing friends, making new ones, putting faces to names. Oh, awesome.
Nazareth, real quick before you ask Joe Rune, it's my turn
What?
to let you know that you didn't change the stream information on
No!
OBS before we went.
How have I done this?
Nazareth literally has a checklist to remind me before we go live for the Pathfinders podcast. Hey, did you do this? Did you do that? And because I always just forget things because I get deep into the weeds researching whatever topic we're on and stuff, and I forget. And Nazareth is my check and balance, and I failed you. I'm sorry, buddy.
That did not function at all. The formatting that it just did is so bad.
Well, it looks pretty good to me.
Well, that's because you haven't seen it yet. All right, so while I'm fixing this, highlights of CitizenCon, and then we'll go, I think, reverse order of what we just did. So Tree starts off. What was a highlight? Highest highlight
Don't
of
forget about
CitizenCon.
Jarun.
Yeah, you got to do.
Oh, Jaroon. That's right. You
how
had
long Jordan's
left, and
been.
then we
Yeah.
had okay. How long
Yep,
have you been
sorry,
playing Star Citizen?
And a little bit of a wife aggro there. Never really quite leaves me alone.
So say we all.
I don't know
Yep.
what you're talking about.
At least it's only wife, and you've got a bunch of little ones. That's a lot more of a handful than I started in September of 2015, and kind of ramped up in early 2016. Somehow ended up hitting Concierge the summer of 2016 with an exploration pack and a bunch of other little stuff. I didn't realize it was quite that early until I went back and tracked it all, and it's like, that, when I don't know if everybody's seen the GIF of the little girl that has been modified for Concierge, where she sees the total of her hanger, and then monocle and top hat pops up. We use that in Concierge every time a new Concierge comes in the chat. But yeah, that moment was apparently in summer of 2016, when I was organizing the first big bar citizen in Florida, and I was hooked. I saw some videos on YouTube. I've been playing MechWarrior Online, and then it's like, wow, these spaceships look really cool. Like, I didn't know anything about Chris Roberts. I didn't know anything about the background of the game, the project, the development, the future of it. I just saw some cool spaceships. Like, oh, I'm gonna go fly spaceships. I had played Wing Commander, didn't play. I played 1 and 2. I didn't play the other ones, and I didn't play Freelancer or Privateer, so didn't get to have all those other experiences with the history of the project. But once I found the community through Gray Headed Gamer, Not So Sober Saturdays back then, if anybody remembers that, I just fell in love with the community, and then he tapped me to start Bar Citizen, and I got deeper and deeper, and got the 890 that IAE, and just been my life 24/7 ever since.
Nice. Yeah, I found Star Citizen. It was only a couple months before I backed in 2014. And I basically took one look at it and said, this is the perfect game. They're building the perfect game. And I forget who said it. I think it was Obsidian Ant who said it. Like, they're attempting the game that everyone wants to build. Like that perfect, that super ambitious living universe game that has everything. Like that every designer everywhere has ever thought of. And they're actually doing it. And so I just took one look and said, yes, I'm in. And then a similar game called Dual Universe got kickstarted, and I picked whatever the first one was that I could not have to worry about subscription, because that's what Dual Universe was going to go do. And I looked back at Star Citizen, like, I've spent half as much as I spent on Dual Universe. I care about Star Citizen way more. I need to spend more money on Star Citizen. So that's when basically I got not Concierge yet, but it was definitely over 400 at that point, and that just has continued to roll 12. Hopefully, beginning cracking at the end of the year. So that should be fun. But yeah, what we were saying, something about the Origins. We will actually do a stream on Wednesdays now, where we're going back and reading all of these old posts. We read through the entire Kickstarter campaign, We're going through all the old videos. We're going to be going through every com link and every video posted on YouTube. And eventually we'll get to, after we're done with most of that, we'll probably filter in playthroughs of the original Wing Commander series and Privateer and Freelancer and all those. So that should be fun.
Good context.
Yeah, like the stuff you hear just by reading the Kickstarter and the first few videos on the YouTube, there's a lot there that gives a lot of things context, and a lot of stuff that's definitely changed, like player submitted ships for purchasing game.
Yeah, and people don't realize how many parallels there are to Freelancer and Wing Commander. Like Stim said, it played Wing Commander back in the day. That was the Wing Commander 1 was my very first PC game. My dad and I built a PC just so I could play it. Learn to build a PC. It's one of, like, you remember Core Memories from whatever Disney Pixar video movie that was. That's like a huge core memory for me, is learning how to build a PC with my dad at like 6.5 years old. In order to play Wing Commander after playing it with my older cousin, and have been I was already a Star Wars fan, and so I've been a space and sci-fi fan ever since. But yeah, the context just from the Wing Commander IP and Freelancer is just huge for understanding what the motivations are for so many of the things in the verse.
I think the
planned
biggest,
otherwise.
I think the biggest nuggets of information so far I've read are the Meet the Devs posts on the comlink. There's only we've only read about 3, and there's they've done this. They've come from these different places. It's just that makes a whole lot of sense of where the game is now. So highlights for CitizenCon. This is more or less like CitizenCon retrospective kind of episode. We did 4 episode series before CitizenCon where we brought people on and did predictions things. Now we're doing retrospective, mostly because I didn't think of any better idea to do today. Anyway, so we're gonna be going reverse order that we did first, but except we're gonna do it properly and not the other way around. So I believe we're gonna start at Stim Citizen. What are your highlights for CitizenCon?
For CitizenCon, okay. So much went on. So if we're talking about from a content perspective, the home base building, the base building, wow, incredible. Then I have to say, like, the Squadron 42 trailer was absolutely fantastic. Just really kind of pushing forward for what we can expect when it does come. As well as not a date given, but saying that it's feature complete and we're in polishing now. Now, polishing is a pretty broad term.
I actually had a theory about one of the reasons, a big reason why they didn't give a date. There's a certain reason, we'll not name it exactly, why actors can't talk about the projects they've been in going on right now. And a lot of marketing is done by the actors in these kinds of products when it's a AAA, all hands on deck dev, or not devs, but actors. Like, all the actors are famous. So it would make sense that whatever happens, we're going to make sure we are post that when we launch, and we don't know when that's going to end. So just kind of don't give a date.
Yeah, especially now, right? Especially now, the because, and we were talking about this before. We can really dive into this topic as well, but I don't think that it's going to go to Steam or any other. I think they're going to sell it themselves, and they're going to build the hype through social media. I don't think they need to give away 30% of the revenue. But
no.
I mean, that's another conversation we can get into. And once we get into the meat and potatoes of the show, but I think that so the base building, Squadron 42, then the Star Engine demo, where we got to see space whales and space cows and
space cows. I can't wait.
And just the environmental, Joran kind of showed me, it was on the show, and people have been getting in and playing in a recent patch, and Joran specifically clipped out what they had done low key on the trees and the underbrush of the forest, and said, look at this, it's absolutely amazing what they had done. And this was in 319, I think it was. Jordan, is that right? 319, where they had all these
320.1, not the last patch that came out right before CitizenCon, but the patch right before that.
Right.
They stealth put in all the brand new trees on Microtech and on Hurston, and completely redone.
Okay.
The quality was just mind-blowingly
On
good,
Hurston too?
and yeah,
Yeah.
Oh wow,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
If you remember the old savanna biome trees that were kind of sparse and straggly, but reminded you of the African savanna,
Mm.
the new trees are just incredible. I mean, just night and day difference, and it's so much more dense and lush in the areas where they have trees. You can go to the North Pole, go to OM1, go straight down, look for mountains, and there's trees and valleys in all those mountains. I don't know which outposts have them yet because they changed those. Used to be Operi,
Oprah's
was
a
a
good
really
one.
good. Yeah, it used to be. It's not anymore.
Oh.
So they changed all the they changed all the biomes. But the North Pole from OM1, unless it changed at 321, but I doubt that. I don't think they made any significant biome changes.
We'll have to
Yeah,
wait
I mean, it
for
was
we'll have to
just
wait for scanning to come in
absolutely
so we can actually have
gorgeous.
mapping data so we can look at
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
looking for trees.
Well, dang it, I
looking
know
for
what I'm doing
trees.
on Tuesday then.
it.
But
Yeah,
but
Tree,
guys,
the
it's
tree is going to
it's
go looking for trees.
but tree. It's more than just like it's more than just the density of the trees. They've made it so that if you remember in the homestead demo, or not the homestead demo, the base building one, they've got
Mhm.
trees where you've got like broken off branches at the beginning and the foliage at the top is the stuff that's alive.
Mm.
That happens when tree density gets really dense and only the tree, only the needles or the plant life at the top of the tree that is needed for photosynthesis that's in the canopy, so not below in the
Oh
shadows,
wow.
right, doesn't need to be maintained anymore, so a tree naturally sloughs off
I hope you bring
those
pizza for the
branches and
rest
those
of
needles, right?
us.
So that's how
That's
nature
super
works,
cool.
right? So I don't think the implementation is perfect yet because you have a lot of them like out alone where the sun is shining on it, and at that point it should be like a full tree, right, where they've got like ones that are like that standing out on their own. So the implementation isn't perfect, but you've got nursing trees that are laying down, you've got trees like that, so like it's so much better now than any other game that's out there. And that was before what they showed us, where we're getting, like the god rays, the low level fog, the cloud and fog transition, those volumetric
God
clouds
rays,
that are
I
like
love that. I'm gonna-
it's amazing, right? Like the ray tracing stuff that's coming, like all of this stuff that we're getting, that's coming. So it's the environmentals, it's the immersion. And then what was the guy? And this is like after the con, and it's still on the like just covering content at this point.
Yeah.
Not even talking about the social side of it and what that was all about. Who's the guy that's been doing all the reactions? And then everyone else, like Salty Mike's been doing the
Asmongold.
reactions. To
Oh,
those guys' reactions.
Asmog. Oh my
Asmongold.
gosh.
Yeah. So like, have you
Can't
seen
not
have you
talk about
seen
it, I guess.
have you seen Space Tomatoes like compilation of Asmongold's like
No,
come to
be-
Jesus moments or whatever? Like,
no,
it's-
I've because he is a React channel. Like I've heard lots of bad things of React channels, so I'm just kind of staying away from that personally.
you know what, that those ones are gold. Like they're really good. So the first one he did was the Squadron 42 one,
Mm-hmm.
and it was good. And like he's kind of like, oh yeah, this is good. Oh yeah, like actually, guys, I'm gonna be real. Like this is really good. Like
Shocking! They've only
know,
been working on it for 11 years.
but especially with the Star Engine one, he was basically saying like, I can see why people have been waiting 11 years for this.
Yeah, I've
He
heard
said
very positive. He's very kind about his reactions. I've heard nothing but good things. Like I have no problem. Like I have no problem with the content I've heard about. I'm just like, it kind of blew up. And like most things that blow up in the Star Citizen community, I was just like, I'll give it a minute. Just gonna stay over here.
yeah. No, it's worth seeing. If you haven't seen both of those, I would check them out. And if after that you want to catch like the highlights, then go to Space Tomatoes, like highlights of it. But you should watch the actual originals.
Yeah,
that's really good.
The Star Engine demo was really interesting because I imagine, well, I know I'm not alone when they open the cinematic and they're talking about the Star Engine and big that keyframe logo design, and we're like, that's it, they're selling the engine. There's actually a French streamer did an interview with Brian Chambers where they broke the news. No, they're not planning on ever selling Star Engine. And in fact, they've had people come to them and say, "Hey, we want your engine," and they've said, "Nah, we're good." So they definitely are not planning on selling nor supporting outside use of Star Engine.
So Brian Chambers did actually confirm that to somebody at CitizenCon this year.
Yes, we
Did he?
have a video of Brian Chambers
Okay,
saying no, they are not selling Star Engine.
Well,
Good.
for
I've
now.
been saying that for years, but it's nice to have actual confirmation.
Yeah.
And I've been saying,
Yeah, I don't think they're
I'm
gonna-
like, obviously they're going to sell
Please
the
sell it.
engine. Look
Oh,
what it
they're
could
gonna
do. It's
So
They're not going to do it
They're
anytime
gonna-
soon because the amount of support that requires is
Yeah.
astronomical.
like he
But,
said, they're
yeah.
not that kind of
Yeah,
company. They're a
event-
game company, not an engine company.
Yeah,
Yeah.
eventually
and
it
it's
could be a
huge
thing.
strategic
but
advantage, right?
Yeah, because
So
yeah,
why would
there you go.
have to have a
Exactly.
whole, and you've got to have a whole support network for all the companies that you're supplying that to, and that's a whole different business.
Yep.
I posted a link into chat and also into our Discord chat of the new trees. I don't know if you can bring those up.
Oh,
but
nice.
I don't think it'll break anything.
at least y'all can see those here.
We'll find out. The streamer was working on behalf of, I don't know how to say it. It's BCon or BeatCon.
Oh, BeatCon.
Very
the
cool.
Belgian
Yeah,
the Belgian folks. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Captain Tran.
There you go.
Yeah, he's the big organizer out there. I saw the interview, but I don't remember that statement. I was too keyed on something else that he was saying. Oh, that they were feature complete on Squadron 42. It's like,
yeah,
oh
and
my
that came
God!
out before
How to do it.
CitizenCon. Like,
Chris was a little annoyed.
oh, I can imagine. Oh my gosh, like. Brian,
thanks
it's
for
good
linking
thing.
that
It's a
note,
good
Andrew.
thing
I
you've
wanted
been
to
here
watch
since
that
the
again.
beginning, Brian, because like he won't kill you. He
And
won't
Steve-
fire you.
Yeah, I gotta save that for posterity. Oh my God, that's bright.
So yeah, that was a really cool or a light eye-opening sentence that we got there. So base building trees. That's what you got, Stim. Base building trees.
So base building, trees, Squadron 42, and then like just everything that we're getting, like environmental side and all of that.
Which most of that stuff is coming out before the end of the year on the environmental side.
Yeah. I mean, I'm super looking forward to it.
I don't know if
and then
they
I
said
guess
the water. I haven't finished. Like, as I go through, I will have a final video after I'm done with all the panels videos on what exactly we're getting in which patch, because they mostly said where we're getting stuff, and a lot of it's coming in. Well, a good bunch of it's coming in 3.22 at the end of the year, which is unusual for an end of year patch.
Yeah. And I'm super happy that we're getting things like hair and all of that as well, just for those that really
like,
are
the
like, up for that.
category of hair they showed off. I don't know what like the category is called, because like most games just don't do that. It's like all the braided hair things and it's so cool. It's so cool.
And then the last thing was like, if we're talking about the con itself, like not just the panel material,
Mm-hmm.
it was just meeting people, getting out there, connecting with other content creators was incredible. People that you've been looking up to and seeing what they've been doing for so long, and then connecting with other people that are up and coming, that are coming in and just seeing what you've been doing, and just really connecting with on that level, because there's something a little bit special about those that put an extra effort into not only the game but the community and the project, and then seeing other yacht clubbers, like getting together and seeing people that we hang out with every week, and meeting people like North End Trooper, and other people that were there, that you get a chance to meet them and put a face to the name and get to know what they do for work, and hang out and talk about this topic that we've been so engulfed by for such a long time. And then meeting new citizens as well that are getting in there. They've come to their first con. They've only been in it for a little while sometimes. And there was even one guy that was going by, didn't know about the con, was just happened to be in town, ended up chatting with one of the yacht club guys, and then all of a sudden like just bought a con ticket and just joined us for the weekend.
Nice.
It was bizarre. Yeah. So, and like, and just had an amazing time. So it's we constantly talk week after week about get out to a Bar Citizen, hang out with get to know people that are like-minded, and people that not only are you comfortable with, but people that speak the same language, think the same thoughts, have the same interests and the same hobbies. And so it's a chance to get together and connect. And CitizenCon is really like the biggest of the bar citizens out there, where we get all the new information. It really is just a great celebration. So the absolute penultimate annual way of getting to see everybody that are friends and family. So that was really good.
Nice. Yeah, I hopefully, according to plans now, there is a greater than 50% chance I go to the next one that may or may not be in Manchester because of certain events happening sometime near the end of next year.
So apparently, Chris did confirm at the Bar Citizen to somebody that we know that they are planning on Manchester next year.
Okay, so
Okay.
straight
he
from
did
Chris.
say it
Got
at
it.
the Bar
Okay,
Citizen.
now I can go back
Straight from
to
Chris. Yes.
my
Yeah. No,
compatriots
we
that
have
are
to have an
doing.
actual site. Yeah, actual citation from an actual director level that knows what they're talking about, and and firsthand, not secondhand. So I've got that firsthand from somebody who was there.
Got it. Perfect.
It makes too much sense.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's
it does.
hilarious.
So that by definition is secondhand, but it's from a trusted source.
Yes.
Well, I'm the secondhand, but you can trust me because it's me, right?
But can we trust your firsthand?
No, okay, math is not
I-
exactly a strong suit. Anyway, Jordan, what are your highlights of
What do I do with my
CitizenCon?
hands?
Yeah, there were so many. Honestly, the hair was huge. I actually want the presenter's hair because it's almost like mine, except his isn't receding. Uh, very similar hairstyle. It's like I loved his hairstyle. I would love that in the game.
And like
But
one of the biggest things they said there, it was they used to spend weeks on hair, or they used to spend like a month and a half or something, and now it's a week per hairstyle. Just done. So we're
yes.
like when
Oh
they
yeah,
like,
they said
oh,
it was like
this is
a
like
few
a
40
days.
to,
yeah.
40 to 60 days down to 3 to 7 days. It was just a huge improvement. And I loved how he called the development over time up to that point and the assets that they have a fruit salad, because that's kind of the whole game code because of the way that it's evolved over
Mhm.
time and what they were originally doing and then what they were doing later. Everything's changed so much. And that I, what he and his team have done with the hair and character tech is really what they're trying to do with everything, is get it all cleaned up and get out of the legacy tech debt and bring it all together so that they can really start churning stuff out faster. I mean, the planets, the content, the hair, the clothes. And I'm looking forward to those clothes. The cloth tech was amazing. Star cloth, star hair, star nails. It was as mentioned in chat. Just all this stuff because I come from Second Life since 2007, and for me, this is going to be my future Second Life in space. I mean, it's a sim that I'm going to lose myself in, and just enjoy socializing with my friends and exploring and doing stuff like that. I'm not looking at it as a game or game loops or combat and stuff like that. For me, it's being immersed in this incredible universe that they're building. So I know those were high points: the character customizer, and the hair and the cloth, that sort of thing. The water tech was amazing. Flying over the water, like that scene with the X-wings.
Yep.
I really wanted them to have done that with the Scorpius, but no, Disney probably would have gotten upset. But we are going to recreate that in the verse as soon as we have it with
Nice.
Scorpiuses, Scorpii.
Scorpii and
And
Furies
yeah,
for TIE fighters.
oh yes, absolutely. Um, yeah, those were just awesome. Just seeing the tech continuing to mature. The star map was amazing. The fact that so many of these things that they've been holding back that we knew that they were working on. All of us that follow this daily
Yeah.
uh, knew that they were working on these things. You see it in uh, the monthly reports and the roadmap and the roadmap updates and all these things. And everybody keeps asking, well, fix the star map, fix the star map. Why can't they just fix the star map? It's like, well, like it's fairly easy, right? Just fix it. Except that they're working on this incredibly in-depth, complex system that simulates the entire star system and all the star systems down to room level and doors in your ships, in the buildings, in the cities, everywhere, and the caves, and ties it all in with every other system. Is just, it's incredibly complex, and frankly, it's surprising that it's done already as complex as it looks. the level of depth that they've gone to with that. I was just so thrilled, and I'm so happy the community, the whole community is now reinvigorated and um, renewed faith in CIG. And those that of flagging faith and little patience that
I believe the
they
best term we have from CitizenCon, unrelenting optimism.
some of us must maintain that.
It definitely
I held the line. Absolutely.
added fuel to the burner. Jorn, 100%.
Wait a second. All right. There was a sentence again that I had thought of a couple seconds ago. But yeah, there was somebody on Reddit earlier today that had made mention of something that they would want added to the star function. Is that star mud? And I've been here since I saw a render of the Ursa. So there's a render of the Ursa out there. I don't know if it was fan made or one of the images that was done in the bunch of concept art before it came out. And it's like going through the snow in this like trench that's digging itself in. And I know that Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2 have very, very in-depth like snow and mud deformation. And could you imagine driving your vehicles in the mud and having like tire tracks be there? Like deep tire tracks, like spin tires levels. You are muted, Mr. Tree.
They did say during the water presentation that they are going to use it next for snow and sand. So
where's my credit card? Must buy more things.
I don't know if that extends to mud. I mean, I would think so. Mud is just a lot more viscous dirt or viscous water.
I mean,
I don't know how
if it's
relate that, but
if it's as performant as they said it is, which assuming they're using anything near what they use for RDR2, it is stupid performant to get that crap done. Like, you can have just wild amounts of deformation at almost zero cost. And I forget the system they actually use, but it's so cheap on a computer to actually run the simulation that RDR2 uses. It's insane. So, Tree, what are your highlights from CitizenCon?
Number one highlight would be the community. It's been 4 years since we had an in-person CitizenCon. It's been 5 years since I got to go. Prior to the CitizenCon, 2018, 2948 was, the highlight of my nerd career, I guess. I've been to, a couple Comic Cons and a Dragon Con, and a few other things, but, because I have such a passion for SC, going at 2948 was just a ton of fun. And this absolutely blew it out of the water in every way, shape, or form. And so it was just a very incredible experience. But the community was, even just the experience of standing in line, with that many people who are so excited about something. I forget who said it, that I was in line with, but it was the feeling was electric. There was it was like lightning was about to strike, so that was just really great. I think they did a phenomenal job with like the entryway to CitizenCon, and having all the booths right there. I think the community booths just being almost front and center really helped to highlight them, and the way that CIG built it so that way they could come in there and it was within the theme. It was really cool talking to all we had orgs, we had people doing, I don't know what you call it, but like Star Citizen arts and crafts. Like it was just crazy, and so it was really cool to walk around and meet all these people that had their orgs, talking about have them do their elevator sales pitch and everything. It was like going to it was literally for me. I've been to a bunch of industry conventions for my job. And so it was like that, but it's a game and everybody's your friend because we're all passionate about the same thing. They're not trying to sell you anything. So that to me, that was just super cool, seeing all the different booths and meeting so many people in the community. I think of myself as a pretty small time content creator, and I literally had a couple dozen people come up and say, Tree? And I was like, yes.
Nice.
People knew the podcast, had seen me on Captain's Table and everything, and so it was really cool to just meet people who, all you've like, because like when you do the podcast, or just like with the you guys for Yacht Club, people by text name, and so you don't know their faces, and to finally meet people that you've been engaging with either on your own content or via other people's, like hanging out in the different streams and stuff for the other content creators you follow, people you have conversations with, and like I consider friends. I spent almost the entire weekend hanging out with Dell, who goes by Dell in my Discord, but Dell Enar in the Astropro Discord, and Treeson, who's in the Astropro Discord. Never met in person before, but we've been talking for years, and we spent the entire time hanging out together, going out to eat together, meeting other groups of people together. And we had a number of people from Bar Citizen Boise who were there. We all hung out together. Went to the VIP event afterwards. The community really just it was very familial especially after coming. We've been out of COVID for a while, but coming out of that and being able to finally do this, made it all worth it.
Yeah.
As far as the actual production itself, it's the crazy thing is it's so hard to pick like a top thing. And I think the Squadron demo is really a good summation of everything, because not only did they have so many of the things that they showed off throughout the con in the Squadron demo, whatever you want to call it, which does a really good job of showing you how far along they are, besides just saying we're feature complete, content complete. But it was last year when that Squadron 42 leak came out, that was about 10 minutes long. It was at 720p and had crappy music played to it, and I was like, gosh, if they would just release something like this, it would help a lot of people with their doubts to see how good this looks and how cool it is. And that this was that, but with all the production value and all the context, and amplified by 1,000. And so it's just absolutely incredible. But I think that the final thing for me is, and this is very much a thing that Nazarus and I have been passionately following and almost screeching in anticipation for, is all the star map stuff, because we've had the water sim has been getting better and better, and yeah, it looked amazing, but we've known about Waterboy for a while now, and he's been doing great work. Seeing the Maelstrom engine was really cool. They've been talking about Starcloth and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that we've had previews of. All we've had is written verbiage for all the star map stuff. And Naz and I have been talking about this on the Pathfinders podcast, how they're creating a one ring system, one ring to bind them and all that stuff for the map, between the interior map, the area map, the mini map, the radar for your HUD, the star map. It's all run off of one holistic system that's tied together.
Yeah, and they even added the mapping system to the engineering gameplay now.
Yeah, and they're reusing it for other things, and Nazarus and I have been, I think I can speak for both of us when we've been excited to see this because of the way they've been describing it, but it blew my expectations out of the water. I was not prepared. I literally stood. I was the only one, but I was standing up, standing ovation. Just like, yeah, I was like your mom at your soccer game when you're 8 years old. Go UI team! Oh yay! So proud of you. That was me, because I was just so blown away by the execution of it.
It's so clean,
and then
that UI. Oh
yeah.
God, yeah.
I
talked to the UI team for almost 40 minutes at the VIP event.
I'm so happy that
they're the nicest people.
The Squadron team decided to like take Zane Vian and just like, you're over all UI now. Go sit in a corner and rule over the team. And oh, by the way, don't tell anyone what you're doing. And for how many years has it been since the last time we saw Zane? Because we saw some of his like independent work when they got him like on the project, like, and he was on not ISC, was around the verse. It's like, yeah, these are like what we want to do and things like that, and like here's the UI I'm working on. But he was like, have to work in my lane, and all the other people who have UI stock need to do their thing. And then like, we love your ideas. Go rule over UI, and
When it-
love the crap that he's come up with. Like it's
yeah.
proper sci-fi UI now.
And when I talked to him, I told him, I was like, my podcast partner and I, we have been using that, concept that UI that you did for the star map years ago as the background image for our podcast, since its inception, because we so appreciate, the aesthetic and the design that you guys are working towards. And now to see how you guys executed, just, absolutely incredible. And I think I maybe asked them 3 or 4 questions in about 30 to 40 minutes of hanging out with them, because they just went. It was so readily apparent how incredibly passionate they are about their work, and how much they enjoy what they do, and how much they really how proud of it they are, because it's not only a visual marvel, but it's a technological accomplishment too.
I think
But
my
they were
favorite
so down to
low-key
earth and
thing
nice.
that UI did is the UIs for the NPCs, like on the bridges, like of the
Mhm.
Idris. They now move when the character like does stuff to it. Now it's not just a video that's playing; the characters are actually moving around UI, and that is something that one of my favorite examples of UI, Oblivion, actually did. In the Oblivion movie, the UIs that they play with in the movie are actual movable virtual UIs that the actors were able to interact with. They were not a effect they layered over the video, which most movies do. They'll have the actors do a thing and they'll just map an effect over onto it. But Oblivion was like, no, 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 no. The actors are going to interact with actual screens with this UI that they have to do on top of it or on the screen. And I like the whole diegetic everything. Everything is just very there. Everything is always in the room kind of thing. And I just love how full force they are in that kind of concept. All
Yeah,
right.
if you meet the devs and you talk to them about their work, and especially if you can recall specifics, like I was able to recall vague quotes from the monthly report, and I remember David Bone Gill looking at me, and he's like, "You read that? I wrote that. That I didn't know anyone reads the monthly reports, but that was me. I write those, and yeah, and so them going they that was the big thing I noticed every time I talked to a developer. If you were able to relate to something specific about their work, from the development, whether it's the monthly reports or the roadmap or something on ISC or CL, they really appreciate when we as backers take the time to read and follow and be involved in the development and pay attention.
Yeah, it like as much as CitizenCon is well, most people like to say it's publicity, but I highly doubt publicity has much anything to do about it. And a lot of people say it's very much, and it is very much for the backers. It is, I think, even larger portion for the devs, because
Oh yeah.
they get so much of a morale boost, and they get to say, hey, we haven't been able to talk about this for a little while, or we have something really cool to show you. Look what we put together. And that is a rush like you would not know, being able to show your work, especially in an industry where it's like your product that you're working on will live and die behind closed doors, and you might not ever see, or your work may never be seen because they went in a different direction or the game gets canceled. Being able to just in the middle of development say, hey, all this stuff we just built this, I think it's absolutely amazing. Like it takes the ISC kind of formula and dials it up to 11 and lets the devs themselves show up on a stage and be rock stars for the day, because they are rock stars every
being able
day.
to present your work, publicly. This is my face, this is my name, this is who I am. I did this. My team and I did this. That's really cool.
And everything they do is next level. You
Yeah.
know, and whether I get the feeling that the way that things work at Star Citizen is you get to, you get to say, okay, you're going to be in charge of this. These are the requirements that they need, but otherwise you have control over it. Report back within a couple of weeks what your thoughts are. And they have, complete control to put together a pitch. And I'm this is super conjecture. Hey, this is just the way that I think it works there. They're able to put a pitch together on how they think it should work, or they start, brainstorming and mind mapping it and coming up with all different ways that it could work. And, it's incredible because you hear, what was the one that was kind of came out at the VIP after party?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't there.
There was I wasn't there either, but there was there was a way that Reputation, I think it was to be, it was the way that Descendants were going to go. So
Oh,
like Death of the Spaceman, right? Like you
Mhm.
die and then the death tax comes out and the rest of it goes over to your progeny or whatever. Oh, we've got 5 gifted subs. Well, nice one,
Oh,
BTV
wow.
cast for
that
giving
does
5
not
gifted
come up on
subs.
OBS, and I hate it. Thank you so much. And the other people that have done it before, I try to keep these mostly because I've been trained by Paul to not interact with chat when we're doing
With chat?
podcasty things. Like
It's always good
Well-
to wait for like a good break, but at the same time, calling them out is really good.
it
But
is
look,
amazing. And while we're on the topic, since you said to take a break and talk about stuff, the plan is to be at $500 of monthly income from content creation next October. And with that, I'll be able to, at the very least, because I could live off of that, at the very least, go to my job and say, hey, I'm going to rearrange my schedule and you're going to be second potato to my other job because I like it better. And I'll be able to get the actual like primetime slots where I'm able to stream and be online and not have to relegate everything to post 8 o'clock. And if everything goes how it should, I may be in Manchester next October for CitizenCon. So like, I am so much appreciated for everyone who does all the things that end up in me being able to make this more of a job than it already is. Thank you so much.
very, very cool. And all the best with that. Hey, it's to be able to get to that point, to feel like you've got your wings underneath you, and to be able to really just push out content. It's awesome. It's a dream for a lot of people. So nicely done. Getting back onto the topic of of that sort of death of a spaceman, kind of like your estate passing on through to the next people. We've heard many times and about how it could be. And, at one point there was, your other accounts, if you have multiple accounts, they could be people that you bequeath your information, you take over as your next person in line and all that kind of stuff. But there was something that was proposed by, was it Brian Chambers that proposed it through to Chris Roberts? But and he's at director level, right? So you're at someone that's very, very high up. But I think when it comes down to even like a particular ship, they've got style guides and they've got everything that they're working on. But I think they get a lot of input into what they're going to do, and they get the opportunity to kind of build their magnus opus, as they go through it, and to be able to do their very best work. And if there's one thing that I think you could take away from Chris Roberts is his ability to lead, not just do the directing, not just do everything that that company needs to do. I think his ability to lead is in a way that he really encourages people to do their best work. And I think in the industry that you're dealing with, because wages are very, very competitive in Star Citizen, but the amount of developers they have at the run rate they go through financially, I think they're probably on the lower side as far as pay goes. So that means you've got to love your job. And I think they do a great job. And so that's why we end up getting like the best trees ever, the best of this ever, the best of that ever. It's because not only is the bar set that way, because you've got other teams just procking these awesome gains that they're doing in each area, but you also get the latitude to bring your all to it.
I think that's
to create it.
a good 3-pronged storm there. You have devs that have to love their job because not only are they possibly paid less than industry standard or whatever it is, they are paid enough to want to work there. Either way, but also it's a company that, in the industry's eyes, could go under at any second, and so it's a risky job to take. It's not a EA where, like, well, assuming it doesn't close your studio tomorrow.
There's,
Um,
yeah, there's no job security at EA or many of the studios. We were just talking about like a huge number of people have been laid off in the gaming industry here recently.
Mm.
like
This year it's
several
been
thousand,
really, yeah.
many thousands. It was
Along that note, they did the turbulent merger, and that brought them to just over 1,100. That was like what, 3 months ago?
Mhm.
You know, not even. And at
Someone said
CitizenCon,
that
they
we're actually
mentioned multiple
1,200.
times that we're over 1,300 now. And
Oh, did
so
they say
since then,
1,300 now? Wow.
it's been, yeah, they've hired nearly 200, 150, 200 people. We don't know what the exact figure is, but a goodly amount. And that's the crazy thing is they, in 2020, when they announced all the Manchester growth, and they said that they wanted to have 1,000 people at the Manchester studio by the end of 2023, and we're I
that
don't
was
think
5
they're
years.
going to make that.
I
So that was
just read something that said it was 5 years out.
It was 1,300 for 20 by the end of 2026 and 1,000 by the end of 2023.
Oh, okay.
And I think we're probably getting pretty close to that. Granted, the worldwide population between Santa Monica, Austin, and Montreal and Frankfurt is probably a little bit more, but to their overall studio growth, they're getting close to their goals, and that's incredible. Like, that's a good thing for us, is the fact that in this time of all this industry upheaval, they're able to hire people and give jobs to these people that are out on have lost their jobs, and people are going to be welcomed into CIG and know that hey, I might not make as much money, but I'm going to be treated well. I'm going to have a job that supports me and supports my creative goals. And they have really good benefits. They're well taken care of. They're
Offices
heavily
look
incentivized
amazing.
outside of salary,
Yeah.
which is if you've spent any time in management, upper management, that salary will get people in the door, but it doesn't keep them.
And working with friends,
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome. It's like high school again. You want to
Yeah.
go through the rest of your life it just being like high school when everybody,
It was
assuming you had a good high school.
it was-
friendship is the best ship.
That wasn't great. And
It
actually,
wasn't
on
great
that,
for me either, but I've seen great experiences.
it's supposedly great. Like, I like working with a great team. If you work with a great team, and it's really invigorating, and I've been very lucky before everything collapsed. It's like you're really inspired, even when the income may not be the best, or there might be a lot of stress and a lot of challenges. If you're working with really great people for something that everybody's passionate about, and there's just so much energy and commitment, and people give so much more because they believe in what they're doing. Self-actualization. Stem and I have been talking about self-help and that sort of thing. Self-actualization is one of the huge drivers that everyone has, that you want to feel that you're contributing, and that you're fulfilled, and that you're appreciated, and that's something that you don't get at most of those other game studios. And you're a cog in a big corporation, and it's a job, and you might be working on a fun project, and you don't know if that project's going to get canned. You don't know, like, if the stuff you're working on is going to actually make it into it. And there's so many uncertainties in the gaming industry. CIG has actually probably been one of the more stable and consistently growing companies, even though, like, there's a lot of people out there that may doubt it. And they're consistently growing. They're consistently delivering content, and consistently showing that their people are passionate and happy. The Manchester studio is such a huge win. Seeing all the incredible content, and all the environments are primarily coming out of, or not Manchester, Montreal. The Montreal Turbulent Studio is such a huge win, because they grew that in the past few years from zero on the new environmental team, but now they've got character artists over there. All this new character art is coming out of the Montreal studio. The new clothing, the hair, the styles, the environments. So many of these people were hired from Ubisoft, and these were the people that built Assassin's Creed and Far Cry and some of the most well-regarded games in the industry for amazing environments. And I'm blown away by how much the art style has changed in just the past few years. That we're seeing this huge influx of new creativity and just new input and diversity. That we've got to have that to build this universe. And as much as I know all the old team from CIG, and they started small, and you've only got so much input from a small number of artists, and like I think a lot of us were unhappy with not getting more diversity and creativity in the new styles that are coming out. Um, and I'm so excited for what we're gonna get in the future, because with all these star systems, it's like so many different ways to dress and style yourself, and the clothing, the hair, tattoos. Um, it's just super exciting to me. Such a huge win.
A quick context for the Star Atlas thing mentioned in chat. Star Atlas had to lay off like 77% of their workforce back in June.
Ouch.
And I don't
so they
want
had
to talk
picked up.
too much about
Yeah.
Starless. Apparently, they do hunt videos.
Oh, okay.
So the only two things I do want to say is it was confirmed, I guess, soft confirmed on what happened to the devs that were hired by them off the project of the BMM. And as far as I know, Sarah McCulloch went to work on Wipeout, not Star Atlas, because she made lots
And
of
she was
videos.
freelance for them too, wasn't she?
Everyone
CIG?
who's ever freelance who's worked on Star Citizen has worked on Star Atlas. The same talent moves through the industry. They are pretty spaceships. There's not a lot of people doing freelance that are pretty spaceship builders, so they pull from the same crowd, and they still do great work. Just I don't want to say anything negative of Star Atlas, because I don't want to get caught in the same thing everyone did to Star Citizen. Was they can't possibly do this because this, that, and the other thing. They released their hangar module. Let it cook. Whatever happens, happens. Like, it could be bad, it could be good. Just let it happen. Don't be negative till they've like done something negative.
Well, the thing
I'll be
is,
right back.
it's never a good thing to bash on a project, right? Like,
Yeah.
we all want other projects. Like, we wanted Starfield to be amazing. We just wanted it to be amazing. It's some people have really gotten a lot of love out of it, but I've heard so many people kind of now come in and say, "Oh yeah, it's just rinse and repeat," and it's kind of like No Man's Sky, but in a different way.
Yeah, no, that's
where-
actually, I never heard it explained like that, but that makes a lot of sense to how I've my experience it. And I heard the best example of the problem I have, and I still like Starfield for sure, especially in contrast with Star Citizen. But there's a duality, the word that means two sounds that don't work together, that I always forget. There's the storyline that you're playing through. You are this like person that has been called by a cosmic force. No, I haven't finished the game yet, so I don't know. No spoilers. And like you are this like being that has been chosen out of millions, billions of people to find and be this hero. And then you have the gameplay that, hey, go pick up this trash and go put it over there. Like it wildly different narrative beats between the gameplay you're actually playing and the story they're trying to tell. So it's like trying to play Squadron 42 with the open world of Star Citizen. They would not work. There's a reason why Squadron is a single player away from Star Citizen game, and Star Citizen is not a narrative driven RPG, because it's open world sandbox. And they tried to merge those into each other.
Look at the way that Star Citizen has invested in like tears and bleeding, right? It's the emotions, the lifeblood, the all of the.
They've also done the most. I don't even know. I have no way of quantifying this, but it seems like in a very backseat armchair dev kind of way, that they have spent the most on procedural generation of any game. Like a lot of games, like, oh, we have procedural generation. We worked on this for X amount of years. Star Citizen has worked on procedural generation for just about 11 years now, and every time they say, oh, we're adding this, it completely reinvigorates their entire procedural generation system.
Yeah, it totally does. But if you kind of stick to one concept at a time, right? Because procedural generation's its whole thing. If we're talking just about like the depth of the storyline, the engagement of those emotions, those things that make you really get brought into the story. And I think Baldur's Gate did an amazing job of that, making really living, breathing characters that you really got brought into their origin stories and their caricatures and what's going on, and you invested in the development of relationships between the characters. From what I understand, Skyrim was better in the story development, and Skyrim was really great in the day. But apparently, Skyrim was a whole lot better than Starfield. Starrim, I nearly called it.
It's Skyrim.
Yeah,
And what's the
I know, right?
Skyrim,
what's the fan made one?
Fallout.
The one that's trying to do Morrowind and Oblivion into the Skyrim engine. Skyblivion? I think Skyblivion.
Not sure.
Don't know.
A big
I think
pile
that's-
of modders that got together and said, hey, we're going to make the entire Tamriel into one thing.
Skyfield's another big one, says Northern Trooper. Yeah, there's so many of them. But the point is,
I think that kind of,
if it doesn't have
sorry,
the, oh, sorry, man, I was just saying, if it doesn't have the depth of the story to bring you in, and it doesn't have the really believable world, like what are the main things? You've got level building, you've got the story driven, you've got all of those. Have you ever played like Game Developer Tycoon? These are the main things that you're investing in Game Developer Tycoon. these main verticals, and in that game you're building video games, and then you'll get approached by like PC Magazine or Game World or whatever it is, and they'll ask you what's more important, level design or playability or the graphics engine or the audio, and you have to pick, and whether you're right or wrong based upon the algorithm. So there's these core pillars of a game, and I don't think Starfield hit to the same degree that Star Citizen is, and I really hope that Star Atlas is able to get that as well, because where we started on this tirade is the fact that you hope that these game developers and these projects are successful, even though this is Star Citizen's the one that we've really backed. We still hope these other ones are doing well, right?
Yeah, and all the things that Starfield could still that has to work on, they've said, hey, we're going to be updating, we're going to be DLC and expansions and things, so they have every ability, much like the fabled No Man's Skies, to completely turn their game into a complete hit instead of a hit and a miss. So I look forward to it. So
I think that brings one thing though, is there's, and it's not universal, but especially like we're not the same generation. I'm probably fairly Joe Roon and Sim are both older than I am, but we've been playing games long enough where your tastes have gotten a bit different, and you've played so many games where if you've seen enough things, it gets kind of hard to scratch an itch compared to when you were younger. And I haven't had a story game, a story-based game really scratch that itch, really hold me, with that story and want me to find out what's next, like a good book does. Really since like Mass Effect, the Mass Effect series, that was one where I could, I couldn't put it down because I wanted to get to that next part. I wanted to figure out what came next. I wanted to get to the conclusion of the story, and I haven't had that in a long time. Whereas, and so I'm hoping that Squadron does that for me. But if you don't have really good story like that, you have to have really good gameplay. Because the gameplay for Baldur's Gate, I mean, unless you're into that thing, like it isn't going to get a lot of people on gameplay, but the story that you create is just blows a lot of things out of the water. The universe that it's created in. But Star Citizen, you are making your own story, and and they're going for gameplay that no one else is doing, and going for gameplay fidelity that no one else is doing. And so I think that they're trying to hit both targets with different but similar projects using the same assets. And I think it's a pretty decent strategy. And as much as I've enjoyed Starfield, the story hasn't compelled me like other stories have compelled me in the past. And I would love for something to scratch that itch. I just haven't found it. Like, the gameplay in Starfield is fun, but I like to have more of a story element, if especially in a single player game. Because like with Star Citizen, you're creating your own story, and you're creating your own. A lot of times, you're creating your own story with friends. So, it's just something that I found was lacking.
Yeah, 100%. Jordan, what do you think? Whether it's the story-driven side of things from Starfield, or whether it's systemic gameplay, that's an emergent gameplay that's going to happen with Star Citizen. What do you think when it comes to like the diversity of the different projects, and how CitizenCon has kind of set the framework, or the scene to compare towards other games like what we've been getting recently?
Well, yeah, I think Tree was saying it pretty well, that Starfield was a really fun game, and I played 320 hours in it. I
Nice.
really enjoyed all the storyline quests. I love the crafting. Did a bunch of base building, a bunch of spaceship building. Played the heck out of it, more than I have just about any other game I have in a long time. Um, I can't say that I really liked it, because I mean there was I had no emotional attachment. It was fun following the stories because they were telling some interesting stories, but there was zero emotional attachment to the story or the people or anything at all. Whereas having just been playing Baldur's Gate, it was just it was so emotionally gripping. I mean, you were so wrapped up in the character stories and every character that you met, and I need you felt that attachment and gravitas of your decisions meant something, and they don't mean anything in Starfield. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you do, you can just keep doing whatever, and it doesn't mean anything. And I think in Star Citizen, I we've got in this universe, like y'all were saying, we're building our own stories. Like yesterday and today, we didn't really have a plan. It's like, oh, hey, let's go haul some cargo, and we got some people together without any real plan, and like brought Stim in, and ended up with 3 Hull Cs,
Nice.
learning how to load them up, and we went from Seraphim Station, got everybody into quantum jumps together. We had a bunch of escort fighters, and we went out to the pyro jump point, figured out how to sell. Like, had never done it before. Um, it's really a pain in the ass, but
Yes. Yeah.
it's still fun learning these things. It's alpha. We're all patient.
I think it'll be a lot more
And then
fun when you pull up to a station and request to be unloaded, and a swarm of MPUVs come out.
yeah, we were talking about that earlier, when it's physicalized in the future, but then also when we have those NPCs that are also making it more alive.
Mm-hmm.
It was so cool when the spaceport at Lorville had NPC ships landing and taking off. Like, I love that because it added so much more aliveness to it. And when the space stations have that, that's going to be crazy. We have that in the cities now, and we have that on the interiors, but we don't really have that much outside and in space. Um, so I just all the random things that we ended up getting into yesterday, and then today, with us doing a run, and we got to Everest Harbor, and I had just landed and stored my ship, and I was going to sell the cargo, and I was going back to the ship to pull it, and had just pulled it, and Stim was just coming in, and he was just trying to dock, and we had a 30K.
Yeah.
So then the whole next unplanned adventure was, okay, well, where are we? What got stored? What didn't get stored? Um,
Logistics.
The Dread Pirate 30K. Arr.
Yeah, and it was really interesting because I had stored and unstored my ship. My ship was saved in the 30K with the cargo.
Nice.
Stem's ship was stored without the cargo, but he ended up waking because he had taken damage. Um,
I didn't actually take any
where
damage.
was that?
Well,
Not in the 30K. It was after you pulled it. Right. So we came back in. Wait, where was that? I lost the sequence.
So
Fill
we,
us in
we
on your side of the sequence there.
yeah, so we had made it from Terra, the jump gate to Terra, all the way to Everest Harbor, and I was lining up for docking, and I was struggling a little bit lining up for docking, but hadn't hit anything. Everything was fine, and the server started to go a little bit wonky, and I was using a wired mouse, and the weight of the wire on the mouse was hindering my ability to take my hand off the mouse in order to dock. And so I started moving a little bit. I'm like, oh no, I've got to bail. And so I started swinging out in order to make it so that I wouldn't hit the, strafing and swinging out so I wouldn't hit the spindle. So, and then that's when the 30K happened. So I don't know if maybe there was some desync and maybe I did hit something, but what ended up happening, I don't know, I think Jordan, you explained a little bit better, but it was the orientation of when I requested
we
the
both
ship that was interesting.
we did after the 30K. We both woke up in Everest Harbor, and we called our
Yep.
ships. Mine was okay, and then you pulled yours, and it was in
Mm-hmm.
the
In
station.
the station.
Wrong orientation.
In the
Yeah.
station, extended with the spline in between the two elevators. So I wanted to see what was going on, not knowing what was going to happen. And I took an elevator over there. So I came out in the right-hand elevator. He came out in the left-hand elevator, and the spline was in between us. And like, what the hell is this? And like all the other stuff was sticking out in the station. And he couldn't get around. He tried to jump over it and ended up getting badly damaged and
Knocked
incapacitated and
out.
Oh
Yeah.
downed.
no.
Um, and so he had an hour to live, and it's like, okay, well, I've got to figure out some way to climb over the spline to get to Stem to try to med pen him. And it's like, so I'm climbing up on it and trying to jump, and it's like, how trying to
Mm-hmm.
get over really big things is difficult. But I finally managed to get over it, got over to Stem, and I'm trying to med pen him in the station. So like, not letting me. I don't know if it was the armistice zone or just having whatever issues or my own not being very good with the med pen. I didn't have a med gun. Um, and so then I was trying to drag him away a little bit, and it ended up he fell over the side of the stair through the station and then outside.
Oh no.
Incapacitated EVA, unintentional.
Oh my.
And then so I was gonna, okay, well, try to go back and get back to the lobby and pull a ship and go and find his body outside, because I had his marker, and the spline was covering up both of the elevator terminals.
Oh my.
Like,
Yeah.
well, I can't get out of here. I'm stuck. So all right,
Oh,
well,
so
Stem,
you
let's
died too.
relog. No, I didn't. No, I didn't
That's
die.
right. That's right.
Yeah. So
That's
okay.
right.
So
Because we
we
realized if we jump servers, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So we relogged and came back in, and Stem ended up waking up in the Orison
Med
hospital.
Bay, yeah.
Yep. So he didn't end up with a very good outcome there. I woke back up there in Everett Harbor, and so he was his next adventure was to get back to Everest Harbor to see if his ship got restored, and we still didn't know if his 750,000 UEC of cargo where it was.
Yep.
Oh my.
So I go to pull my Hulsey again because I still hadn't made it over to actually sell it, and then I go over and I try to get to it, and it's got the docking port problem. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go and try to EVA to it. And I get out and realize like it's 5 kilometers. Meanwhile, Stim's trying to get over. It's just all these silly things. We've all had these things happen, and these Star Citizen stories. We end up spending several hours and losing a bunch of money and just having a blast, laughing about all this silliness. And it's just it, we've been here for how many years and how many thousands and thousands of hours, and not STEM, but you're starting to get your hours, and but we're committed to this as our lives because it gives us everything that we want and the future that we dream of also having in these stories that we want to create with each other, with the NPCs, with the missions and quests and the bigger things that CIG is putting in there that you just don't get that from hardly any other games. And I think it was actually talking about Asmongold. He was, I think it was Asmongold, toward the or one of the other React videos. I've been watching a bunch of them, saying how would you rather have 10 really good games like Star Citizen or Baldur's Gate, or do you want 50 mediocre games? And that's
Definitely the
basically
10.
what we're getting. Yeah, I mean, we're getting all these games that keep coming out, and they're just churned out, and they're not that great. People play them for a few hours and then they leave them, and they've paid 30 to 50 bucks for them. And people have these huge Steam lists and they buy all this stuff on the Steam sales and never play them.
The wall of shame.
Yeah, it's the digital wall of shame, just like for people who do minis.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The pop figures, right? Yeah, you know, Baldur's Gate 3 is one of those absolute gems. Star Citizen, absolute gems. So, I mean, how many like absolute gem games do we get every once in a while? You know, it's not that many.
No, it's a disappointingly few, and because the only thing that you need to have for somebody to enjoy anything as much as I'm going to speak for everyone. If this doesn't speak for you, then you can speak up. The same emotion that we have for Star Citizen, and it only takes devs caring. And like there was a high level of passion.
Let me contest that real quick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's a lot of devs that work for game companies that care, but can't. It's the management that really makes the decision on, okay, here's what we're going to do for this game. Here's what we're going to allow. Here's what, and here's the time that we have, and we have to release at this point. And so this is a game that we're able to create. And
here's the sales
you
window.
can't
Christmas
let
that
me
we have to
rephrase
hit.
as
like,
not devs,
you need
but
another
studios.
year. Yeah,
it takes the studio
studio
level to care, not because you are completely right, and that
Well, it's the not the production company. What is the one that they call the developer?
Publisher?
Well, the publisher. Thank you.
Publisher,
The
publisher,
right?
publisher.
The publisher
We'll get there eventually.
that says, look, like, you know, you've got to release it here, whether it's done or not. You've got to release it. And so you lose fans and you upset fans because your product is garbage, you know. And that's why this evolution of early access has come along. And you know, we see some leaders saying, you know, we're going to release it when it's ready, and Starfield actually did that. Like, to their credit, they did that.
Yes.
But Baldur's Gate really did that well, and of course, you know, Star Citizen's doing that on an epic scale, like everything else.
Yeah.
And I think it's really an economical equation that they have to release a certain number of games to meet their income targets, to cover their overhead targets, and to produce profits for their investors. And they're on this never-ending cycle, and with the timeline of how long it takes to build a game, a minimum of generally 2 years for rehashed, reskinned Battlefield 38, to 8 years for Starfield, 10 years for Cyberpunk, 10 years for Red Dead Redemption 2, and these really long development cycles, and that's a huge difference in investment time for a large company that has to plan their money cycles. They can't say, okay, well, we're going to bleed money for 8 years because we're not going to be able to release a game for 9 years, and we're going to pay like $50 million a year out of pocket, and then we hope that game comes out is a huge blockbuster that you don't really necessarily know if it is. So I think that we're never going to get away from that in the big studios, but that smaller studios like Larian. And I've spent so much time studying the game studio's development here, and this year especially, with the success of Baldur's Gate 3. Sven has put out a lot of interviews, and his story is amazing as far as when he started the company in the 90s, and they were subbing out to other companies, and then they were churning out smaller games. But his vision was always to do those top-down turn-based games, and the investors all told him, it's like, there's no market for this. Like, you have no future for this. Kind of like Chris Roberts. Like, there's no market. And if you'd ask people before Baldur's Gate 3, it's like, how much of a market is there? Most people would say it's like, no. And when Baldur's Gate 3 was coming out and you talk to people in the community, how many people said it's like, oh, I don't like turn-based games. I'm never going to play a turn-based game. It's like, no, that's too slow for me. And everybody that I talked to that said that then went to play it, it's like they love it. Like,
I
there's
think
so much
it's one of
more.
the biggest. I don't even know what it's called, but the problems. It's not problems the wrong word, but when studios and publishing companies go, there's no current market for a genre, because you have no idea until that game's actually there where the market is, because you wait so long to get into this market where everything else has died off and there's nobody there because there's no new games. So, like, the sci-fi PC sim MMO that is Star Citizen had no market because nothing else existed where it currently exists.
There's a
And-
potential to make the market.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, like, you can do market research all you want, and people will think they know what they want and what they like until they're presented with something else, and they're like, oh, I haven't tried this before, or oh, I didn't know this is a thing. I didn't know I liked this. And that's like what Jordan was saying with Baldur's Gate. People didn't know that they could like turn-based games. People didn't know that they could like, like D&D is pretty popular, but I think that Baldur's Gate is helping to, Baldur's Gate 3 in particular is helping to make D&D more mainstream, as it's been getting more mainstream as the years have gone on. But it's, that's the thing, is until people are exposed to it, a lot of times you don't know what you like, and you can't market research that because you're just asking people what they already know, and they don't know what they don't know. Star Citizen, I think,
That's
fits
super
into that
deep.
really well too.
I love the sentence, you don't know what
Somebody
you
clip
don't know.
that.
Like, it's because that is development. You don't know what you don't know. And you have to start somewhere. And a lot of, like, a good recent example of a game that, because of the unknowns, they weren't able to finish the game, which was Starframe. What was it? Where you were bots building in space and there's mining, but it was like a faction-based PvP game. Not Starborn. There's another one, and I can never something. Anyway, basically the idea was it was a building game where you built spaceships and built stations and things, but there was that was only like half the game ish, and then there was, well, it was like a third of the game. And not Space Engineers. Space Engineers is doing fine. They're actually working on a sequel, and I love Space Engineers. Don't hate on my
Wasn't
Space
like
Engineers.
dual universe or something like that?
No, that's a much more tragic tale.
Not thinking of Eve
So sad.
Online in a different way.
Starbase, that's the one. Starbase. And then another third of the game was faction PvP, taking territories and things, and it just felt like there was a third missing completely out of the game. Like, that had no idea what they were going to do. And they eventually, they got into a pre-release, well, not a release state that was way too early because they dried up their money that they were able to put into the game without it making money. And they released it, and it just fizzled out because, they had no idea what the game was for. Is it a building game? Is it a PvP game? Is it an FPS game, a ship combat game? There were capital ships, but not really. And they just had no direction. They had no real direction where the game was supposed to go. And they were able to say, okay, we we had our little fund that we were able to spend on this game. We put it out there, and it just kind of didn't. So no harm, no foul. We go move on to something else. And like you can't do that in big budget games. And so they need to make these big Battlefield 38, 39, whatever, 40, 50,000s.
Battlefield 38. That cracks me up.
And I actually have a really weird prediction about the game industry because of the move by Xbox to soak up literally half the industry in one fell swoop, is that because these big companies love killing franchises so much, they're going to dry up their own talent. And the talent is going to do exactly what the guys who are working on the new RTS from Blizzard, not from Blizzard, but former Blizzard devs are doing. Which they're like, oh, you're not going to work on an RTS anymore? Great, we'll go do our own. Bye, thanks. And these devs who have been doing these genres will break off and build their own studios, and will have more better games because they don't have to make their big budget AAA Assassin's Creed 47 and continue the grind of all these established IPs, and they get to
Well,
actually
if they can get the funding, because they still have bills to pay, they still have to make a living, and I think we're seeing, and we've been seeing over the past several years, a lot of small game companies Kickstarter up, and I've got a couple of friends in Yacht Club that they're following some of these Kingdoms Deliverance
Kingdom Come
something.
Deliverance.
Yeah, that was so good.
Yeah, maybe it's that one. Is that the one that didn't work out, or is that the one that's still working, still in
Manor
development?
Lords is about to come out. I
Kingdom
know
Come
is there-
Deliverance was amazing.
I've heard
I
only
loved
good
it.
things
That
from
was
that as
one of the
well.
few. Story-wise was great. I struggle with that type of combat controls, but it was a really good game.
Is that the one that started with the buddy of Chris Roberts? That there was some kind of tie-in on that one with the crossbow and lance?
Ooh,
Or is
I
that
don't
the
know.
Seth one? Okay, I'm getting confused. So there was one that kickstarted, and they had some funding, and they went for a while, and then didn't really work out, and kind of fizzled. And we're seeing a lot of that on Kickstarter, where they can't continue enough funding to get to the point where they have a minimum viable product they can put out for alpha. And then there's others where they do, and then they start becoming successes, and people fund them and follow them. Larian was very lucky in that they almost didn't make it. The game before, so it was actually Divinity Original Sin 1 was before Divinity
Okay.
Original Sin 2, and they almost went out of business. I mean, they
Oh,
almost
wow.
didn't make it. And he was this was the game where he couldn't get any investors. And this was where he was putting the whole company into this. Like, he wanted to build this top-down turn-based uh, 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 RPG, and like there was one month where they almost didn't make it, but they made it past that, got the game out, good success. Use that. So I mean, they've been going for many years, and then they got that, almost didn't make it, had a success from that. That was able to fund them for the next, I think it was 4 years of development of Divinity Original Sin 2, modifying that game engine. So they have their own game engine that they had been building and refining for 3 years, 4 years, so 7 years prior to starting Baldur's Gate 3. So their whole studio had been evolving and mastering building that kind of game and creating those kinds of stories and their game engine. So they already had 7 years before they started Baldur's Gate 3. And then that had 3 years of development, and they were able to put out the early access, which was just the Act 1. The only way that they were able to do that in just 3 years was because they had all that already, all that momentum and all those resources in place, and the funding from the success of the previous games.
Yeah,
And then
I
they
think
needed another 3 years. So it's a very long story
yeah,
of Larian developing Baldur's Gate 3. So it wasn't just 6 years development here. It was
yeah,
the previous 7 years before that. So
Mhm.
we're looking at 13 years just for Baldur's Gate 3, really, to
yeah.
get to where they
I think
are.
a better map for indie studios. I've never worked in game dev, so just warning, I'm speaking out of the back of my head. Um, is definitely a more Larian direction than a more Star Citizen direction, where you just from start we're gonna do an MMO. That's a terrible idea. Please don't do that. Unless you want to or think you can. Like, I don't know, it's your game. You do whatever you want. But Space Engineers have a very similar track. And I don't know about the whole almost going under bit because they're a much more closed off kind of company as far as I know. But they had I can't remember if it was one or two games. Well, it was what they had Space Miner 2049 or something, and it was like a space combat in asteroids with physicalized damage of the asteroids in your ship, and that was their first game. And then they got Space Engineers to a early access, and then they worked on then they like a few years after that was stabilized and was continuing to generate revenue being a early access release game. They spun up Medieval Engineers, which was very similar but not similar in like wood and stone building. That one fell on its face, not instantly but pretty soon, and they like has since discontinued development on it. They actually like released a code base for like modders to like go wild with it, to like, hey, we're not gonna keep this up but you can, and just kind of threw it over there. And I know when Medieval Engineers was working on it, they were not exactly doing a whole ton. But since dropping Medieval Engineers, they've been going gangbusters on development for Space Engineers, and again with their own engine, the same. And they're now at the point where they're rebuilding their engine for Space Engineers 2. That's just everything Space Engineers is, but better.
I had the mic muted, and he literally said hi.
Aww.
Hi. This is Boone.
So cute.
Boone's off to bed.
Bye. So yeah, I don't know a lot about the business side of game development, so I kind of just throw crap out there. But I think giant studios having less devs is a good thing.
It's kind of like, it's unfortunate because so many of the smaller indie teams will put out an initial game, or a couple of games where they'll get noticed and they'll be popular and successful, at that scale, and then they'll get gobbled up and they won't get to continue what Jorun was talking about with their almost like, it's like a familial generational thing of being able to build up on their previous successes to get to a Baldur's Gate like release. But yeah, we need more of that. Like I play my Steam list is probably 90+% indie games because I like supporting indie developers. It's like supporting, your small business in your town. I like doing that, and I'd like to see them, because that's entirely people who are, I want to create this. I'm going to do what I can to make this happen. Not I'm trying to get rich and pay off and pay my investors. This is me expressing myself creatively. And so I play a lot of indie games, but I think we need more success like that. And I think a good example of how the industry can do a better job of fostering that is like what Hooded Horse is doing. And that Hooded Horse is a smaller publisher that is just helping to support smaller developer studios with a number of different projects, and not gobbling them up entirely and telling them what to do, and making them push games out sooner rather than later, because like every project that's under the Hooded Horse publisher has been delayed, but they put out all these updates, saying this is what we're working on, this is what we're doing, this is why you should be excited about my game, this is why I'm passionate about it. And I think they're doing a good job of hitting that mark, and I hope that will continue. Hooded Horse is the publisher behind Falling Frontier and Manor Lords and a few other games that are in development I'm very excited about. But if you're listening and you've played Baldur's Gate 3 and you haven't played Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, you are missing out. Just absolutely,
those are great games. Divinity Original Sin 1 was so hard to play. That's how I found it. Like, you really need to know what you're doing. Number 2 was so much better, but Baldur's Gate is like taking that to the next level.
Nice.
If you're familiar with Baldur's Gate, you can play the story for Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2 is just phenomenal. And I love the
Yeah.
voice acting and the humor. It is funny. There's a lot of
Nice.
funny stuff in those games, and they're just too much fun. And they're cheap. They're dirt cheap, to play and buy. And you can do co-op with your friends. That's what makes it so much fun. Like I played a campaign with my wife during COVID.
Nice.
It was just
Nice.
awesome. Yeah.
So bringing it a little back to Star Citizen, and now that we've gone on this half an hour long tangent of the game industry, and I probably showed how unknowledgeable I am about the game industry itself. How we heard a lot about next 12 months at CitizenCon. They said next 12 months a lot during CitizenCon. So how are you guys feeling for the next 12 months of Star Citizen? And I guess we'll start with Tree.
I always try to be optimistic yet realistic. Nazareth and I are generally, we try to go for objectivity first with the Pathfinders podcast because source up or shut up, really. But that's just the way my brain works. I can't help it. That's my job. I am very excited because of so many of the things that they demonstrated. They didn't demonstrate them in a here's concept art or here's a closed test environment. This looks really rough. So many things were demonstrated in a this looks like a build that we could be playing very soon. This looks like it's everything looked like it's in the main dev branch. It's going through it, getting put through its paces before getting added to the release branch, if that makes sense.
I agree. It totally felt that way. Even though we know better, it kind of felt that way.
We know better, but at the same time, I feel like this is the next evolution, and this is why these things haven't been shown as much, and have been talked about, and why the theme, and Jared talked about it, was show don't tell, because they've been telling for a long time, and now they're finally at a place where they can show, because these things are that they're in the main dev branch and they're functioning because they're functioning in Squadron 42, which is essentially the same game, and now they can move over from that branch and be made to work in the live environment. And that's what I'm excited about, because it's not just the star map, but the character customizer, for one thing, looks amazing. It is demonstrated to be functioning. And the online services team last month in the monthly report talked about how they are getting PES ready in order for it to work with a new character customizer, so that everything will persist between patches. Like, they are getting the game ready for that feature.
And every hairstyle is like, by the way, these are in the engine.
Yeah. These are, game ready heads. These are ready for Q4. So many things were talked about in that, either not quite next quarter, but literally saying not quite next quarter, but very soon, or they said end of by Q4. So we're going to see a lot of that carryover from Squadron, a lot of those dividends finally paying off in the next 12 months, which is very exciting to me. Because even if server meshing doesn't go as smoothly as they hope it will or think it will, which is definitely a very realistic option, even without that, just by if they get half the things that they showed off in the next 12 months, by this time next year, we'll be playing an entirely different game. It'll be an entirely different experience.
And the amount of morale boost that we're going to get from the base building updates is going to be nuts.
Yeah.
Not to mention,
and there's going to be a lot to sink our teeth in, just development wise.
Yeah.
I got a quick question. And it's really kind of pointed at Joran in this one. When you look at everything that we saw at CitizenCon, and taking what Tree is saying, that things look like they're like just around the corner as far as development goes, even though we know better. what do you think? I mean, I noticed that a second ago in chat, it was being said that, you know, to have an update um, on the roadmap would be really nice, right? Because they were holding back all of this development for CitizenCon, and so we don't have a great lens right now into where things are in that development. Do you have anything to say about how you see like the next year playing out?
Yeah, I think that we, like Tree was saying, we need to maintain a little bit of conservatism in our optimism. I'm one of the most hyped people in the community for years and years, maintaining a constant state of optimistic hype. But knowing what is going to go into certain things like the base building, they're not starting until first quarter next year. The creating just the physical assets, they could do that fairly easily. The problem with that is that the game mechanics around that are so insanely complex because of how many different things it has to encompass, from tying it into the law system, the protection system, the the ownership system, the land claim system,
And it will
security,
even be
shields,
they mentioned a little bit about it.
resources.
Yeah, the resource network. It's not just a network that's spawned when your base is spawned. You actually have to go in and say this connects to this and this connects to this. So it's a whole new tier on the resource management system that you have to build your network.
And that they don't really have a planetary resource extraction system built yet. They don't have any fabrication and crafting systems other than the one little printer in the Vulture and the blueprint system. And so many of these game systems are going to have to be designed and engineered and tied into so many other things. And uh, they've talked about it in the past. We know about it from the Pioneer. I bought a land claim. Stim, you bought a land claim?
Yep. Yeah. One came with the Pioneer, and I bought another one. I gave away a small plot on the show at one point. So I only have the one that came with
Mine's
the
in
Pioneer.
Melt, but yeah, I got the 8x8. So I think that one, um, incredibly hyped for it. I spent so much time base building in Starfield, so much time, and I hated it because it was so clunky and
Oof.
really it was pointless because yeah, and if you really worked into crafting a whole bunch of stuff and hauling it and dealing with the whole miserable inventory system and selling the stuff that you were making, yeah, you can make good money, but you could make really ridiculous money by just going and killing bad guys and selling their loot
Right.
for a lot less work. And I had a massive main base. I had multiple bases that were mining and feeding that one, and I was creating all kinds of first, second, third tier level goods. And I was maxed out on all my skills, and I could build anything. And I was like, okay, I'm bored now. Luckily, the F8 came out, and I broke my habit. 320 hours, and I'm done. I didn't do the NG Plus thing. Had a great time, but I wanted so much more from the base building. I had some really nice, beautiful location resort homes with nice decorations and plants and furniture and that sort of thing. And like, kind of, I, there's nothing more to it. You take a couple of screenshots and all right, that was
Yeah.
nice. Whereas in Star Citizen, there's so many places I want to have a really nice home on Microtech, on a mountain
Right.
overlooking a forest and a lake and a river. Have another place in on Terra and other planets, and then mining and extraction, fabrication, and there's so many more things that I want to do from that. It's so exciting, but I don't expect anything to come from that for 2 to 3 years minimum. So I'm keeping very realistic development timelines for a very complex future game system there. Really going to be excited about watching that coming together. The character stuff, uh, they said we're getting a lot of that here in the next patch, so that's super exciting. I don't know how much of the character tool we're getting, if we're getting all of that or most of that. I, there's been a lot of debate as far as how he phrased things. We're getting, I think, 12 new hairs or something, and this shows all the new hairs for men and women that are coming, definitely guaranteed in the next patch. I am assuming and extrapolating extrapolating from that we're getting the new character tool to be able to use those hairs and do the customization, the coloring, and all that sort of thing, and then the facial customization, because it looks like that's pretty much ready to release. So I'm hoping that we're getting all of that in the next patch. Hopefully that's January. I don't think we've gotten a new card yet. I checked the roadmap a couple of days ago, so we don't have anything going past January. The star map, I don't know how close they are on that. I would love to hear.
Yeah.
Is that coming in the first quarter next year, or is that 6 or 9 months out? I mean, how much more?
Or
work do
even
they have
part of
to
it.
do?
Like,
Yeah.
do we have to have the whole system? Like, do we need the mini map part of it, or can we just have the star map component of it?
I wish
I'm
there was
encouraged
some
by that they
tell.
demonstrated it. They demonstrated it
It's
in
all
Stanton.
one.
Yeah, it's all the same
It-
map from the resource management
Instant-
No,
Stanton
I know,
to...
but they don't. But they could limit the zoom in, and then they don't have to do some of the the smaller or more myopic things. Like I don't know. Just trying to say,
Yeah,
can they
go
take
to
part of
the
the scope
planetary
and put part
level
of it in sooner?
Yeah, without all the cities and everything that's in there. But I think, and it feels like the way that it's working is it's programmed to pull it from the game system
Yeah.
code itself.
And
That all the assets are there that are physically simulated are feeding into the star map in real time.
Mhm.
Your ship, the door, if a door is open or closed, so many of these things.
Yeah,
And
the
it
only
seems
thing
like all
that
that.
needs like marking up is location tags. So like on the character said this is the technical deck. That needs to be actually put in on the map. So like marked up in some way.
Give it to us how that. We know where everything is.
Yeah, and there's
And
so much. Like if a
there's
fire breaks out, you'll see a little fire icon
Mm-hmm.
somewhere or something like that. But can I
Yep.
swing things a little bit back to the point of, when you look at the building that's coming, right?
Mhm.
And this might be talking about more than a year out, 100%. But I picked up my nephew from the airport today, and I showed him the first part of Star Engine. And he is a storyteller. Like he's a professional dungeon master.
Okay.
He is incredible at weaving stories. He watches half of it and he pauses and he says, "I want to know, can I, crash land on a planet after like a dogfight? I take out my enemy. I crash land on a planet. I've got nothing but like a multi-tool. Will I be able to, when the game is released, right?
Mhm.
Will I be able to get back to civilization, build my way back out, like go full on survivor and do that, without necessarily calling a buddy on my Mobi-Glass to have them come over and pick me up? Will I be able to use a hand tool as long as I had the blueprints to, make a rudimentary shelter, and then to be able to make like a replicator that could then make other things that are a little bit bigger with blueprints, and then eventually get to the point where you're making ships like they mentioned. And someone was saying in a chat earlier, like nobody's talking about those replication, those plants
Fabrication?
called those fabricators,
Yeah.
fabricators, where you'll be able to make ships,
And
which I think is
being able to do
very interesting.
Yeah, being able to do that whole survivor run has been a story that they've been talking about pretty early on. And I think I hope how they're going to get around the whole why does RSI exist if you can make them at home is there will be specific like kit cars. There'll be like not manufacture like RSI, Argo, Aegis, and all these other ones. There'll be a blueprint ship. And so you build your blueprint ship instead of you building a F8. Because that would just upset a lot of the stuff that they've been building out for a while. And if you could build like random like rover, like fabricated rover and fabricated ship and whatever it is, I think that will do both of them. And I think a lot of people aren't talking about because it seems like a misstep when they say you can just print ships, and it from a lot of balance of what they've been talking about for the 90% NPCs and players don't really have a impact on the world itself. Building ships is quite an impact because they are quite big, monumental pieces of resources. Building, let's say, a Polaris, a constellation, you open the can of worms of, can I build a bangle? No, don't ask. So it's a question with no satisfying answers yet, because they basically opened the door to the vastness of space and didn't say what's out there. They said, "Oh, you can build ships." What do you mean? They
It
went,
now becomes conjecture citizen.
huh?
It now becomes conjecture citizen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We will all be theory crafting for years.
I've
until it
seen
actually gets
basically
here.
every version, almost every version of the like, oh, we'll just be able to build constellations. We'll be able to build small ships only. We'll be able to build indescript ships. We'll be able to build whatever, and the implications of that are just so vast, and it's ridiculous how far you can go with that. And we are post 2 hours. I will open it up to the people if they want to continue talking.
I've got to get going pretty soon. I do have a prior engagement that that I need to
Yep.
get to, but I can go for another 10 or 15.
All right, Tree, you look like you had something to say.
Oh no, I was going to say, closing arguments, closing statements.
Ah, yes.
Sounds good.
All right. So thank you, my Steam panel. Yes.
With the new baby on board, I'm sure your time is right limited. Hard cap.
Yeah.
Yeah, today is a short stream for me, so I have the rest of the evening, so I'm good. But
Perfect,
thank
awesome.
you, my esteemed panel of guests. Thank you to Tree, to Joran, to Stim. It has been really fun. It's probably one of the more lively episodes that we've had so far. It got a bit derailed in the middle, as they mostly all do. But it's been a really good conversation. I'll let you plug all your things one more time. So, Stim, where can they find you?
You can find me every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on the Yacht Club. That's Yacht Club BC on Twitch. We are starting to post again on YouTube. That'll be happening soon. Otherwise, really find us on Twitch. That's where we are. I do have, Stim
And the Discord.
Citizen and the Discord, of course. Yeah, you got the Yacht Club
The
Discord. Awesome. Yes. Sorry, Jordan.
Sorry.
That should be what you say. Where to find you?
You're like the figurehead of the yacht club. So just helping out.
Thank you very much, my friend. So like, honestly, come and join the Yacht Club. It's not about me or Joran. It's about the community, right? And that's why Joran has been so involved, in Bar Citizen, and that's why we do these things together, and that's why we get together as Soul Citizens, and that's why we jump on other shows like yours or like, the Soul Citizens at the Captain's Table or whatever. It's just about bringing people together who absolutely love this game and this whole project. And I want to surround myself with great people, and so helping people find each other and be part of it. We like to see the Yacht Club as the sorting cap of Star Citizen. Find your place. And what we find is most people, when they get there, they realize how fun and how connected and how welcoming and warm the Yacht Club group is, that they want to stay. And as a result, there's an organization building up within the Yacht Club. It's not just a social club. There's tons of gameplay that you can do. So anyway, come join us. Have a great time. Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern on Yacht Club BC on Twitch.
Thank you. And Jordan, anything to add?
Yeah, I'm Yacht Club as well, but I'm also Bar Citizen, barcitizen.sc for all your meetups all around the world. If you don't find one that's already planned, there's over 70 Discords all around the world. So you can go to the map, click the Discord link, and it'll show all the various Discords. Hop in there, plan your own Bar Citizen, or say, hey, let's get together in a couple of weeks. And if you need help doing that, just reach out to me.
I've only been to one Bar Citizen. I have another one later on this month, but it is an experience to go and be with Star Citizen people or people that share, like you guys said earlier, share your ideas, your passion for a project, be of the same mind. So definitely go do what he just said and go find a Bar Citizen near you. Tree, where can they find you?
Yeah, I have to second the Bar Citizen thing too, because we have a nice little Bar Citizen group here in Boise. Boise is a small city, but there's a dozen of us, and we get together when we can. It's not just SC. We have you'd be amazed how many other shared interests that you find with people who also are into Star Citizen, and so it's being able to do that every now and then with my busy schedule is the highlight of my quarter. Is essentially what it comes down to. but yeah, can't recommend that enough. Especially coming out of COVID, get out there, get out from underneath your shell, meet other people and engage and do things together and in person. Um, Especially, guns down, drinks up. Yeah. So I'm Trio 311 again, the Pathfinders podcast and Armchair Admirals and Generals. Nazareth and I do the Pathfinders podcast usually 3 times a month, and I try to get an Armchair Admirals and Generals podcast out once a month. And then I stream when I can, just playing SC. Everything is Tree0311 on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Twitter. It's Tree0311-SC, but there's links to the other things into my Discord on every page. And we are not quite 2 weeks. We're 2 weeks away from Veterans Day. I try to make a big deal about that because everything I do, content creation wise, I take no money for myself. I'm going to plug that. I donate 100% of all the monetization I receive to stackup.org, with a bit from myself because I'm like round numbers. And so
Very
yeah,
nice.
and so I'm planning with the Armchair Admirals guys, Armchair Admirals and Generals guys, to do a 2-part podcast recapping their thoughts about CitizenCon and
Nope, you're fine.
and then the year going forward. So keep an eye out for that because we're, as always, we'll be raising money for stackup.org to help help stackup.org in their mission to use the power of gaming and gaming communities, like right here, to prevent and treat PTSD for veterans and active duty service members. So, got to plug that. But my Discord is very active. Lots of very passionate people about SC. So come and hang out. We'd love to talk.
Lots of nerd debates there. And as for me, obviously, you all know where you are. We are here. We also have streams for gameplay, for testing on Fridays. Tuesday, we go through the origins of Star Citizen, and we also look up any of your questions so that when we answer questions on our Wednesday show, we show you where to find whatever information. That way, you're not just taking it from a streamer on the internet. You can actually find the information yourself. So come by and ask questions. We also have the NoahForge.org. We are a co-op, an industry-based organization, which we're just trying to be the best industry-based thing we can be. So the NoahForge on both the R side, and we also have a NoahForge Discord. I should actually hook up the actual links into like the bot thing and do some stuff. But we'll be back with the channel on Tuesday. Yep, with the channel on Tuesday. We'll be back for Star Citizen Content Creators next Sunday. Thank you again, all of my esteemed guests. You guys have been great. And this has been quite a lovely, what's it called, show. There we go. And I'll see you all next time. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and we'll see you next time. And as always, be kind.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for having us on.
Cheers, everyone.
Yeah, it was fun. And of course, not only do I have my toddler like screaming halfway through the episode, but also my dog is now sitting behind me just absolutely sawing a log, and I can hear it through my noise canceling headphones. That's how loud.
Well, we can't
Like, what
hear
is
it
that
here,
noise?
so
Oh.